So Andrea, firstly, I would like to thank you from the whole team of House Galleria for accepting our invitation and being on the podcast. It's really an honor to have you. I really would like to request you if you can take a minute or so and introduce yourself to our viewers, to our listeners, who you are, why did you come to design world, what inspires you in the design world, and a little bit about your practice.
Yes, okay, I'll try to do that all in a lot of questions there. But thank you first for having me on the podcast all the way across the world. We're very excited to be introduced to your viewers. So my name is Andrea Popkin. I am the design director of Annette English Associates here in Los Angeles, California. We are a small team of 8, small but mighty, I like to say. And we focus on high-end custom homes, mostly here in Los Angeles. Our team is, trained in various disciplines from architecture, interior architecture, and interior design. So, we are very, very involved in the entire phases of the project, from inception, working very closely with top architects and contractors in the city. And we really just love, creating custom, one-of-kind designs for our clients. I think that was one of the questions. And then how I got into design. I have kind of been on a very straight and narrow path of becoming an interior designer. I've wanted to do it. It's been my kind of dream for a very long time. I would say probably since I was like 12 and I learned what design was, interior design. So I've just been, working towards that forever. And I came to Los Angeles and initially was working in hospitality design. And about 8 years ago, I connected with Annette. Annette is the primary business owner of Annette English Associates. She started the company about 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, and really built it into the name and the company that it is today. So I'm very honored to be able to tell the story of Annette English Associates to you. So I started working with Annette about 8 years ago. Together, we just, it's interesting how people come together from different walks of life and connect and are able to just really, Annette and I are about 20 years apart. So, we are a perfect kind of yin and yang of working together and, inspiring each other and just bouncing ideas off one another. And so about 3 years ago, Annette offered me a partnership in the company. And since then, we have just continued to, build the work we do and make more connections and make more relationships. And just really, we just love what we do here in Los Angeles. We're very lucky and grateful to be working on some of the best projects in the city, really.
Yes. And I must say it on record that your projects are really beautiful, and like it's really, when you say that your team is small but mighty, so it reflects in your work. I have one question for you, Andrea, because since you have a lot of experience in the hospitality world, then you jump into the world of residential design. So what are some of the changes you have seen, like as a designer, that you have to focus on, like what different parameters on the basis of which you design?
Well, when you mention hospitality and then jumping into residential, initially I thought it was going to be totally different and just kind of a very spontaneous idea on my part at the time. But in reality, it's like, I don't know if this is good or bad, but a lot of homes we see in Los Angeles are like small hotels, right? So, they want the same, and vice versa. I think hotels are becoming more and more what a person wants from their home, the comfort, the sense of place, the intimacy. I think they kind of relate in that way, hospitality and residential. So in reality, like coming from hospitality into residential, it was actually a smoother transition than maybe one might think. Of course, the projects can be a lot more complex in hospitality. Some of the designs are like really just extravagant and worldly. But really, I think the concepts of making a place their home is very similar. So that transition for me was actually quite smooth. And I don't know if that was really the answer, the question you're asking there, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
Mm-hmm. But when you are saying this, and I think a lot of our viewers will connect to your answer, because when we see the landscape of Los Angeles, so the homes are really magnanimously beautiful, magnanimously big, and they are somewhat like the small hotels. So like I can completely agree with you, and I think most of the people will connect with the answer that yes, like coming from the hospitality background, I think it is like more than a shift, it is an advantage, because now you are going to condense all your skills on a residential unit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even like, our homes are so intimate and personal. That is the one part that really drew me to residential coming from hospitality, because I love the experience of really getting to know the client and who they are. And that's really where it starts on our projects, is really understanding them and how they live, and really trying to improve upon their lifestyle in such a way that they can really like live and thrive in their homes. So I think it's that intimate connection that is different than hospitality, but that is the part that kind of keeps me here and really just like inspires me from one project to the next.
And you are saying that like the process, like when you get to know the client, like how they live, what they do, how they do, like what are the things that inspires them. So these are the major points, like on the basis of which we always create the structure of the understanding of any client. Would you like to share a process, like how do, like what's your personal process, like how do you get to know to the detail of understanding any client? Because every human is different, and everybody have different inspiration, everybody have different habits. So like how do you like what's the standard process you follow with all of your clients in order to have or to develop the understanding of the client?
Absolutely. I mean, that is one thing I think part of our process that we kind of have standardized a little bit of just the part of like, okay, this is how we know we're going to go in the beginning about getting to know the client. And it, after, many years of doing this process, it's really proven to work for us. And, one of the things is like in the very beginning, we're usually brought in right after, the architect has the plans, they're pretty schematic still, but, we're usually brought in that stage, or we like to be brought in that stage, because we get to connect with the client sometimes on a deeper level than the architect, because we're asking them, what they put in their drawers and, how they really want to live and sit and use all these spaces. And so how we do that is, from the beginning, we spend many hours up front with the client, interviewing them, like asking them tons of questions about their lifestyle, just their goals for their home. I would say 50 of our clients have built a home before, so they kind of know the process. So they kind of know what they don't want to do, what they did wrong in their past home or something. So that's, all that information is really valuable for us to know. So yeah, just a lot of talking, a lot of spending time with the client, interviewing them, but in like a casual way of interviewing, of just like, us sitting down like we are now and just talking to them and really getting to know them, who they are, who their family is, who's going to live in the home. again, like what their real dreams and aspirations are. So we start with that, which is always the first step and really fun, and a lot of deep conversation. And then it's like we already usually have an idea of what the style of the home is. So we will spend time with a client and just like going through tons of imagery, tons of photos, tons of just things that Annette and I will pull and just like throw at them, see what sticks on the wall, see what they have great reactions to and see what they absolutely don't like. So we just like literally sometimes thousands of photos we'll go through of just things that, everything is information for us to be able to really start to understand what's important to them. Yeah. So it's like, those are like the first two steps. And then, we'll go on some shopping trips. We'll look and touch and feel materials, fabrics, plumbing, appliances, all these things. We'll spend a lot of hours shopping and just like, because it's a fun process too for them to go out and see things in person. And they need to do that, be able to really see and be able to vocalize what they like and don't like. Yep.
And I want to ask you something, like what percentage of your client, when you meet them, like you're meeting them for the first time, like you don't know them at all? Because I have a follow-up question to this answer. So like what percentage of your clients are like you just meet them, like you don't have any connection at all, you haven't met them at all?
I would say 90%. Yeah.
And suppose if you're meeting someone for the first time, so what you were mentioning, that you go into very intimate I would say discussion in order to understand what the client wants, and like you ask them a lot of questions, you talk to them about different things. Like how as a designer you make someone feel comfortable? Because as a person, suppose if I'm coming with something and like it's not very easy to make someone comfortable. So this question is specifically because there are a lot of our viewers who are architects, interior designers, and it will be very valuable for them if you can answer like how do you make someone comfortable when you're meeting for the first time and at the same time you're asking someone very intimate questions?
Sure. Well, I guess I'll go back, before we get into this process, obviously we're hired for the job, right? So we always have 1 or 2 interviews with the client before we're even hired and go into that phase. So, during the interview process is when we start to build that rapport. And, it's kind of a two-way street. It's like we're interviewing them and they're interviewing us. So it's because ultimately we're all signing up for a 3+ year relationship here. So I think that rapport kind of starts in the interview process before we're even hired. And things we do to kind of make them feel more comfortable, I think, is just to really reassure them that, we are building this home for you. Like, we are not here to boost our own design needs or our own goals. We are really, I think it's a little bit like empathy too, and just like infusing and being really good listeners, like letting them know that we are listening and we hear them and we understand them, and that we're really here to just create the home of their dreams and really just impact their life in a way that we really deeply care about, improving their life and their home. And because the home is such an important place for every human, right? It's like, it's where we go to rest and recharge and rejuvenate. And like, everyone does that in different ways, but the home is really the place to do that. So it's our job to really listen and understand and make them feel like, and really make them feel, not just like, but that we are here for them. And it is our passion, it's our lifelong passion, really, to build this home for them.
Yes. Yeah. This is really important what you just explained, and I think everyone, irrespective of whether we are designer or artist or anything else, it is like how it is should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you one question on collaboration, because you mentioned that you collaborate with a lot of architects and other professionals from other
Mm-hmm.
disciplines. As an interior designer, how much is the value of collaboration for you?
Oh, I mean, it's everything, right? It's because we are only the one part of the process here. A very important part, but we don't build the home. We don't, build the structure of the house, or design the structure of the house. So um, we are only as good as our counterparts. And we are, it's always our goal going into a project, whether we've worked with the architect or the contractor before or not, that we are team players. And I think that's the best projects are ones where we all come in together and we all know that we're all team players and we're working towards the same ultimate goal, which is to, serve the client and create a great outcome for them. I think when we all collaborate in that sort of way and with that mindset, you can only create great things.
And
Yep.
Andrea, I want to mention something. You just said that we are only as good as our counterparts, and this is such a beautiful thing to say, because a couple of weeks ago I was talking to founder of one very big company, and he told me that, Shivam, we are only as good as our team. Company is nothing but just people. And now, like, we don't realize it when we are selecting, let's say, the supplier or the builder or the maybe architect or someone else. But this is like, as an interior designer or as a designer in general, it is so important that we pick our people very, very, very consciously.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, it goes for the whole team. I think we all have the same goal in mind. And we just, just like I said, like the clients interviewing us, we're also interviewing them. So it's like from very beginning, it's like we want to make sure that we are aligned on the right goals, on the right path. And, we build that rapport to just like make the process as smooth and as sweet as possible. Yeah.
And like, what's the importance of of technology in your design process? Like, if I need your opinion as a person and also as someone who's running the practice, like what's your opinion? What's like of technology on the design?
Sure. I mean, well, technology is everything these days. And especially in the last year, we've learned it even more, right? Because we can't do anything without these Zoom calls and all of that. But actually in design, you know, again, we mostly work on all these ground up construction homes. We're very involved in the beginning, and that includes almost every project we create digital renderings, because more and more the clients need and want to see the design and be involved in that process from the beginning. And they need that to understand and really visualize the vision for the home. So that number one is something, it's just standard pretty much in our process. Renderings are getting so real these days. And they're really just incredible. And on top of that, another thing we're exploring with some clients is the VR technology,
Yes.
which is also incredible. They put on the goggles and they can literally walk through their home and their spaces and understand the volume and the scale of the space, which is really an incredible tool
Yes.
for us, for the architect, for the
I mean,
contractor even.
VR is really a astonishing tool, because I remember when I was in architecture school and all of our teacher used to talk about physical models, and the reason was only one, because no one can have the sense
Yep.
of scale, like how big the thing is gonna be and like how it is
Yep.
actually gonna look like. And when VR comes into the game, it is definitely going to change a lot of things. And
It's a huge game changer. Absolutely.
because do you do all of these things, like you were mentioning about those high quality renderings and the VR, like you usually do these things in house, or like you partner with someone else, like?
No, so it depends on the project. It a lot of times the architects kind of manage that process, and we just, but we're part of it, obviously, like designing the interiors.
Hmm.
Or we outsource a lot of it. Because we are a small team and we are all very busy as it is. And it's a huge expense too to have, to do that in-house. So
Hmm.
I think there's definitely people that are more equipped to like do it out there. So we outsource
Yes.
a lot of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like not just for the rendering partner, but for your partners in general, because as an interior designer, you have to collaborate with a lot of people across, like there is a complete hierarchy of professionals who are we are collaborating. So we are just talking about this rendering part. Like what are some of the points you always keep in your mind, like when you collaborate with someone? Like do you always, like your decision is always on the basis of their portfolio or on the basis of their cost? Like what are the parameters you always go through?
Um, Let me think. I'm trying to understand the question a little bit. Um, I mean, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, yes,
Or
yes,
like,
please. Yes, please. So,
yeah,
so I was asking that when you suppose when you're collaborating with somebody, like what are the
yes.
parameters on the basis of which you decide to collaborate with someone? So, suppose if you are giving somebody a job to make renders for your project,
Uh,
like what are some of the points you always consider before selecting the person or the company to do the work with you?
I see what you mean. Okay, yes. Parameters, I think it's just well, I mean, we live in a very busy kind of workplace and we're managing many projects, right? So it might just be availability. It might be you know, who the company is and where they're located and how quickly they can turn our things around, honestly. It's very logistical, but and then, it's just someone that we maybe have worked with in the past that we have a good rapport with and that we like their work. And um, I think it's pretty simple, but renderings are a lot of work and very time intensive for the beginning of a project, right? Because it's not just the drawings, it's, selecting all the materials, all the furniture, lighting, decorative elements, artwork, you name it. So it's like, it's a lot of work up front. So we need someone who can, you know, take that package of things and be able to really translate it the way we want it translated and understand the vision and work with us. Kind of, it's a very, renderings are very kind of fluid process too. It's like tweak this, tweak that, do that, 10% bigger, a little bit smaller, So it's like we need someone who's collaborative in that way and can like, be flexible and just be open to being a little bit part of the design process.
Mhm. Yes, yes, I can
Yeah.
understand. And Andrea, like if I ask you as a person, because like I can see that you are going through a lot of things during the day, because as you have a lot of projects to deal with, a lot of things to deal with. Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
keep the child of like the child inside you as a creative person? That like, do you I always ask this to our guests, and some of them says that okay, they travel so that they can connect with the nature, and then they can do like what's your process to connect with that creative child inside you?
Oh, well, it's been lost in the last year, I think, because of COVID, but I love to travel with my husband. I think, That's one thing I always tell people as creatives, and no matter what level you're at, I think just exposing yourself to any type of design is so important. It's just like soaking in all these things and elements and learning, constantly learning from other designers or architects, and just there's one thing like seeing something on a screen and seeing a design, but there's a whole different experience, like actually being in it, living and experiencing that space or that architecture or whatever it is in person. So I think one way the best to do that is travel. So I love to travel. Definitely love, just locally in Los Angeles, love spending as much time outside in nature. Love hiking. We're so spoiled here in California. We have everything from the beach to the mountains within like a few miles. So anything like that is definitely connecting with nature, is just rejuvenating and healing. And then, we are coming up on having some really great new museums in Los Angeles that are in construction, and in addition to the museums we already have. So I think just things like that, seeing art, experiencing the city locally is just all very kind of exciting and inspiring. Yeah, just getting out and seeing things, not being in front of your
Yes.
computer or whatever that might be.
Yes. And like when we start as a designer in this world, so we are just focused on one part, which is designing. But when you grow as a team or as a practice, so you have probably 500 other things to deal with. So how much of your personal time actually goes into the core designing part?
Oh, I always say that design is actually like 10% design, 90% like management and like, just paperwork. And it's so true. But right now we have several projects under construction and completing in the next few months, which is really exciting. And so right now my inspiration and just like kind of drive every day is involved in going to the job site and seeing the process through, and just being on site and experiencing our design come to life is really just the best. One of the best parts of the process. So I mean that alone is like, it's not creating the design, but it's still being part of it, and being on site also, there's constantly things to like tweak and adjust and problem solving, and that's all part of the design process as things are actually being built. So, and like the actual design work, it comes in flows. It really comes in flows depending on the stage of a project. Annette and I, right now we're both so busy. It's like we're a little bit divide and conquer. Ideally, in the beginning, we would just like tag team and work very closely together and, be very involved in the beginning with the client and the design process, which we love. But, our projects are generally 3-year projects. So like I said, it comes in flows of how we spend our time, and it's not all just sitting down and drawing and designing all day, unfortunately.
Yes. And Andrea, if I ask you, like, because you have been working from quite a long time, like, what are the top 3 qualities any interior designer need to develop in order to become successful in the real world? Like, we have the different world in universities, and then the real world is completely different. So what are the top 3 qualities according to you, like everyone should develop?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one thing I learned or was told early on in my career, which I always tell younger, students or designers, that you really have to be a sponge. From day one, you need to just be a sponge and see a lot, get out there. And it's, like I said, it's not just reading about design or looking at design. It's experiencing design, going out in the world and experiencing things, and just really be up for, in terms of like working, be up for anything. And really it takes several years, I think, to really develop your own design aesthetic and eye for things. And that just comes with experience. But I think the more you expose yourself to design or whatever discipline that you're interested in, the more you do that, the faster you'll learn, the faster you'll really start to understand, like, just what you like and what makes sense and what you want to do, and kind of really honing that design aesthetic within you. It does take several years, unfortunately, but I think it's just like, immerse yourself in all things design.
Yes.
Number one. Yep.
Like you just mentioned that it really takes a lot of time. Do you see that the designers who are coming out of schools, architecture school, design school these days, like they are a little bit more impatient because of probably social media or other things, whatever the factors can be, like people have, like they have lost the sense of being patient? Because I think you have spent a very good amount of time in hospitality. Now you have been working in residential, and after all of this experience, you are doing what you are doing. So what is the value of patience, and do you think that this generation lose a little bit of patience in their practice?
I mean, absolutely. I think, we all talk about millennials and their complexes. And I think, patience is definitely one thing that I think it's just understanding what it takes to get to a certain level in the design, career, because you really learn by doing and completing projects and seeing things through and through, and every project is different. So, even for me, like 15 years in, it's like every project is a new learning experience, right? And the more you just build and build and build on those experiences, the more you can just like, take that knowledge from different experiences and projects and clients. And you just don't have that in the beginning. It takes years to build upon that. So definitely the patience can be slim, because they, of course we get like maybe interns in that think they're going to come and design a room right away or something. And it just doesn't happen that way. And also it's like, it takes a lot of discipline and hard work and passion, like true passion, to do what we do every day and stick with it and really just like continue to be just attuned to every detail that a project requires to make it as fantastic as we envision it to be. So I think that really the discipline and the just continuous, intensely hard work to make that happen year after year after year, project after project, is just, you have to.
Yes.
So
yes,
I think for young people, it's hard to, you can't just force them into that. You can't just instill that into them. They have to deeply want it and want to do it, and no matter the time or the cost or the hours or whatever it takes.
Yes, I completely agree. So Andrea, now we are in the final part of the podcast where what we do, we play a quick entertaining small game with our guest.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. London or Paris?
London.
New York or LA?
LA.
Modern or contemporary?
Modern.
Norman Foster or Zaha Hadid?
Zaha Hadid.
Okay. Whiskey or vodka?
Ha! Whiskey.
Okay. With that said, it was so nice to talk to you. I really enjoyed a lot talking to you. I hope that our viewers will enjoy it as much as I enjoy.